stopped a bicycle theft in progress. And I asked him, I said, did you call the police? He yelled at the kids took off, and he said they were kids, not always kids. Sometimes it's people coming into our community, not always people that live in the community. I asked him why he didn't call the police, because he said he didn't. And he said, because the kids ran off, and I didn't think there was any point. It's so important that you contact the police, because your officers are your community officers. They work in the same zone. So they will get to know the neighborhood, they'll get to know the people in the neighborhood, and they get to know the community and the streets. So they know the streets and where kids can go and hide, or teens can go and hide, or adults can go and hide. I'm saying that as a general statement because it's not always kids. I've heard that being said a couple of times, that it's the kids that are bored and that's why they're getting into trouble. And that's not the truth. There is a lot of activities for kids to do, so you can't really be blaming kids for any of the issues in the community. I think that we need to work together to promote community involvement in crime prevention. That's really important. I also think that speeding in our residential areas is a problem, and speed bumps are not the answer. Our city has gone speed bump crazy. Speed bumps come at a great expense to the city, and I don't think that they're doing their job. As I walked down Sutton the other day, I was canvassing, I saw a couple of cars just go flying, almost airborne over the speed bumps. I think we need to look at other avenues of community safety and to slow down traffic in the residential areas and the school zones, whether it be radar boards, because they seem effective when it's a visual distraction, or whether it be photo radar. A lot of people wouldn't be happy about that, but you know what? When you get a couple of tickets, you're going to slow down. And when we instilled the red light cameras in Burlington, a lot of people weren't happy, but people aren't going through the red lights like they used to. So I think that we need to go back. I think we need to work collaboratively with the city and also with the Halton Regional Police, and we need to come up with some strategies that are going to make our community safe. Thank you.
Mr. Sharman, vandalism, traffic and law violations, bicycle and pedestrian safety are the biggest complaints in the Orchard. How would you support the Orchard to ensure our community is safe for families, especially those with young children, particularly with the recent legalization of cannabis?
Well, there are a couple of really interesting questions. So the first one is deal with vandalism. We have had increasingly more complaints about vandalism, not just in the Orchard, but throughout. Putting the police is a great suggestion. In fact, somebody did something to my car recently, and I had the police come and they took photographs and there's a report. So I agree with the partnership with the police is really critical. More recently, I've been talking with a gentleman who lives in the ward, who's a specialist in cameras, and what he's suggesting is actually we can work with the police department to have the cameras, the internet web-based cameras on the front of our houses. It can record what goes on, and we can provide that information. Indeed, recently, about 4 months ago, a person was caught, was arrested by the police in Elizabeth Gardens, who had in fact been performing illegal acts on houses. So I believe technology is the answer, is part of the answer. I also believe that community watches and things like that are really important, and certainly the relationship with the police. Let's deal with traffic. I mentioned a little earlier that because of all the communities around us that are growing, while Burlington is not, it's not over-intensification, it's not there. Burlington is the slowest growing community in the GTHA. The problem we have is all the communities around us are growing like crazy, and they have to come through our streets to get to work. What we have to do is get the cars off our streets. I would personally have, this is a joke though, a hydraulic cylinder that comes out of the street so we can have a transponder to only let us onto our streets. But seriously, we do have to do something about this. I'm already talking to our NPP. We are working on trying to get the statistics so we can demonstrate with absolute clarity that the problem is cut-off traffic from the highway when it backs up to Oakville, and they come down Burloak, they come down Bronte, they come down Third Line, and they're running through our streets. They're running up to Burloak to Upper Middle Road. They're cutting in through the Sutton. They're going up onto Pathfinder. Even Pathfinder is getting traffic at high speed during peak hours. People are rushing through the streets trying to get home. It's not just our communities. Yes, we need to do things in our communities to increase road safety, reduce speed. I, for one, absolutely agree with having speed cameras. Technology has to be part of our solution because we do not have enough police, right? We keep the budget low. We have the lowest cop per pop relationship ratio in Canada, right here. It's not doing the job in terms of getting our streets clear, right? In any event, so there's a lot to be done. It's a big job. Nothing is simple here. It's complex, and we have to act on it. Thank you.
Mr. Rukema, vandalism, traffic and law violations, bicycle and pedestrian safety are the biggest complaints in the Orchard. How would you support the Orchard to ensure our community is safe for families, especially those with young children, particularly with the recent legalization of cannabis?
I think we're all in agreement with traffic. Traffic needs to slow down. Traffic needs to be diverted from our streets so that our kids can be safer. I also agree with photo radar. You get 2-3 tickets, and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more important for you to slow down. I actually get really, really anxious and really upset when I see people flying through our streets, not giving a care, especially when the kids are going to and coming home from school. Now, let's talk quickly about cannabis, because this hasn't really been brought up. My position on cannabis right now is that until we have more evidence about the impact of cannabis on communities, I actually want to opt out. There's only one other country in the world right now that has cannabis. I haven't been to that country. There's one other country that has cannabis legalized. And until we have the statistics and how it impacts our communities, I think we need to be very careful about it. It doesn't mean that I'm somebody who's vehemently opposed to it. You do your thing, it's none of my concern. It is legal. But I am concerned about the community. I am concerned about the children in the community. Now, what is it that we can do to make communities safer? How about we get a community center that's a little bit closer? I am a huge fan of community centers for programs and services for our future adults. Last Thursday, I was so proud to announce that with the Hamilton Boys and Girls Club, we're going to create, if I get elected, we're going to create a board of directors right away to look at establishing a Boys and Girls Club in our ward. This is precisely what it is that I'm talking about. It's going to, if you don't create a community for children and youth, they create their own communities. And if you remember when you were youth, those communities were not that desirable by your parents. So let's do what it is that we can to keep our children safe, and let's give them the products and the services that they need to be able to make that happen.
Ms. St. James, vandalism, traffic, and law violations, bicycle and pedestrian safety are the biggest complaints in the Orchard. How would you support the Orchard to ensure our community is safe for families, especially those with young children, particularly with the recent legalization of cannabis?
Not just in this section of Ward 5, it's also happening in Elizabeth Gardens area, an older established area. Community watch for sure. How do we get that started? Obviously through schools and school councils. Many schools here in the Orchard, and we need to start talking. I've helped in that area in many schools, and I hope to be of help and of service here as your counselor. Vandalism. Vandalism happens all the time, and happened to many of my signs. And it has to be dealt with immediately when you know who it is. As a school principal, the priority was to make certain any vandalism on a wall where people could see it, get rid of it immediately. So I would be able to give you numbers, contacts, names on for your homes and for other areas. So I think that's really important because vandalism projects into having more vandalism. And I do agree that a community center is needed. Engagement of youth is needed. I've coached everything and anything. Apparently you have two and in multiple languages. And me only in two. And I believe that Youth needs to be engaged. We need to be engaged. Also, you have more parking on your streets than any other area in the ward. This does not make it very safe, particularly in 5 months of the year when there's snow and kids tend to get excited and run across. So we have to share this responsibility for sure. And I really endorse again the bus stop parents or neighborhood watch, making certain that our kids are safe at all times. As a school principal, safety comes first. As a mom, safety comes first. As a community member, safety comes first. Circle arounds. Well, I've used them in France where they're used effectively. I do not believe they're used effectively in the orchard. I've seen the school buses get hopping over top of them, which concerns me. And they're going way too fast, and the kids just love it because they are airbound. Traffic flow and law, I agree. We need more law enforcement, definitely. And we need more bylaw officers, just a more visible presence than at 2 a.m. in the morning on my street. And I think that cannabis is obviously a huge issue. Thank you for that. I'll leave it with cannabis is a huge issue. Read it in the post, in the survey that we each committed to writing a response to. Thank you.
Mr. Zhang, vandalism, traffic and law violations, bicycle and pedestrian safety are the biggest complaints in the orchard. How would you support the orchard to ensure our community is safe for families, especially those with young children, particularly with the recent legalization of cannabis?
Okay, I almost knock all doors in Orchard community. If you see my flyer and or you see I knock your door, I spoke to you, and you will know. The first thing I will say is community security and traffic safety. So community safety, because no security, no safety, there's no quality of life. So that's the most important in my platform. For the crime prevention, actually, Mr. Paul-Shannon already mentioned there's a technology. Actually, in the last debate, and I'm the person always want to push the new technologies to improve the city management efficiency. We already organized a tech talk meeting about how to apply the technology to the crime prevention. And we can use the artificial intelligence, those technologies, it's already in place. Actually, it's not something fancy, and it's not cost a lot. And we just use the technology to identify the suspicious behavior on the street. The other thing I need to mention, I'm a student. I'm still a student pursuing my doctorate degree. I'm learning the information security. For information security and community security, for the security concept security, a lot of knowledge can be shared. And for the first concept, when we learn how to make the information security, this is the employee awareness and client user awareness. For our community security, actually, when I knock a lot of doors, around 20% of the neighbors, they are not aware of the community security situation changed in these years. And there's a lot of break-ins and vehicle break-ins, home break-ins. They are not aware of those cases happen in our community. So the first thing I believe we need to let our police officers visit the neighborhood and go to the libraries, community centers, and deliver those information and tell us this is situation change. And the other is give us the knowledge how to prevent the crime. This is for the neighborhood awareness. Of course, then we can apply the new technologies for the crime prevention. For the traffic, actually a lot of people know I was hit by a car in 3 accidents before in the past. And 2 days ago, today I just posted a message in the Facebook group, and 2 days ago I was almost hit again. So this is, I can see the problem. And, it's a big problem. And even there's a time when I get got off, sorry. When I got off the bus, and the burning bus driver saw a car flying just behind me. So for those things, actually, we see the speed bump doesn't work, and we can use other technology. Thank you.
Orchard lacks a recreational facility to engage residents. In fact, there are no municipal buildings in our community at all. How would you address this need in our community?
Wow, this is tough. The orchard was developed around a master plan that had plenty of services and stores and plazas. And then when the orchard was being built in the early days, there was a recession, and all of that went out the window. Subsequently, the orchard continued to develop, the houses were built, but did not have the So now we're at a point where we have parks in Orchard, but the city is unprepared to take some of those parks and turn them into recreation centers. Indeed, the last meeting I had in this room was last year, and some of you were in this room, and the entire discussion was about how to engage youth, because there is not enough engagement for youth in the Orchard. There is nowhere for them to go. Tansley Woods, great, you can go there, and people do go there. But it's not sufficient, it's not local enough. We hear all sorts of stories, and often I'm called about this. We actually were planning to use space at Corpus Christi. We understood they had some available space that could be used for programming. When we finally got into negotiations with them, they changed their mind, and it was no longer available. So you get to the point where we're looking for space, and we need space, and I'm behind it. I'm continuing to look for it. This is a topic that's very important, and the timing of this is critical. We need it, and we'll do it. Thanks.
Mr. Ruckelman, the south of Ward 5 has Centennial Pool, which also provides that community with space to hold meetings. The Orchard lacks a recreational facility to engage residents. In fact, there are no municipal buildings in our community at all. How would you address this need in our community?
I have been thinking about this an awful lot, and it is strange that a community with as many residents as we have here in the Orchard has no municipal facilities. And it is especially trying for our young adults, for the youth, and also for the children. The reality is that there's not much space left. In fact, there's no space left. So you have to try to use facilities that already exist. The only thing that we have that could remotely work would be schools. But there's a complication with trying to get schools on board to make that happen. For me, as a stopgap measure, I would like to begin that conversation with schools and say that we absolutely have no other choice. I think what schools tend to forget, and I say this very lovingly and with all due respect, not you personally, schools are community centers. And that is why families get so very upset when they want to close them. So if they are community centers, why can't we use them in the evening when the facilities are already there? We seem to be in a society where we're all about build, build, build. If the gym is already there, if whatever else it is that you need is already in existence, let's share our economies. It's healthier, it's better for the environment, and it allows children to actually be connected with something a little bit more than they currently are. With respect to the Boys and Girls Club that I've been talking about, I really want to see that happen. And I went around to residents in the Orchard knowing that this announcement was going to be made, and I kind of played around and said, if for ever any reason, if by any chance we were able to do something like a Boys and Girls Club, what would you think about that? And everybody said the same thing. They said, where would you build that in the Orchard? Where would you have that? The only place that I can think of in this ward, again, is south of the QEW. And that would be if Bateman closes and we don't know what's happening with that school in 2020, is I would say make that a community center and put it in there. That's great for that community, but once again, our community up here is going to be at a loss. And that is what I find a little bit of a shame. So for now, as a stopgap measure, let's use our existing resources, which are schools, and I'm definitely as a counselor going to advocate for that so that we have something for our children and our youth.
Ms. St. James, orchard lacks a recreational facility to engage residents. In fact, there are no municipal buildings in our community at all. How would you address this need in our community?
I'd address it immediately, and through reciprocal agreements with the school boards and the schools. Alexander's and Boyd's are the largest schools, certainly, and we have so many teenagers that are not engaged in the orchard, and they can be getting their volunteer hours for helping little people to play in all sorts of games using the gyms and the facilities within the schools. Again, you are school rich in the orchard, where in South Burlington, we are not. And so making the best use of the playgrounds, making certain that there's a skate park in the beautiful Orchard Park or Pathways Park, and there's none here. And there are several in the south of Burlington for our teenagers to use, and even the younger ones, the tweens, and they're well used. So I would advocate for that in one of your, or two of your, or three of your beautiful parks. I believe that we need to think out of the side of the box here. In South Burlington, Lakeside Plaza is the first of the intensified shopping plazas. We know that in Ward 6, walkable right from here, right across Appleby line, that's going to be intensified. And so what do we need to start to be thinking? And when there is a condominium or something that we're going to need to, let's start to think, what should the base of that condominium look like? Should there be a library in there? Could that be something that a counselor should do? I think so. And could it also be possibly a meeting area for seniors? We may not think of this part of the orchard as being seniors, but I do know that I've been to several of the seniors building in the Lantman Midtown area. Let's get this happening. And what would I do as your counselor? I would be thinking outside of the box, but immediately I would be getting that reciprocal agreement happening with the schools, and particularly such large, beautiful new schools that aren't being compromised by school closures. So we want them being used. So those are a few of my ideas. I'd like to listen to yours though too. Thank you.
Mr. Zhang, the south of Ward 5 has Centennial Pool, which also provides that community with space to hold meetings. The orchard lacks a recreational facility to engage residents. In fact, there are no municipal buildings in our community at all. How would you address this need in our community?
If we have a swimming pool in our community, that would be nice. If we don't have it, because we know there's no land for that, and we need to find another solution. For example, if we can use the Tansley Woods, and it's easy access to it for our people to go to Tansley Woods, so this is a solution that we can take. And early this year, actually, I already mentioned, I sent a request to Burlington Transit, because one of the reasons is I met several neighbors, especially seniors. They wanted to bring their grandchildren to Tansley Woods for the swimming program, but they cannot go. The reason is before, on Saturday, bus 12, but in winter, the road is slippery, they cannot walk more than 20 minutes to go to Appleby. So this is a problem. If we know there's a need and we have a solution, if the bus come here and we can resolve certain problems at a certain degree. And so this is why the city need to listen to us. This is the new request. We have this need, and the city should help our neighbors. And the other thing is we need to think about, if we don't have the solution for the land in Orchard, and now the bus is still something we can negotiate in the future. Let's look at the city development. Actually, in the different area in Ward 5, we can see that like Appleby Mall redevelopment, Lakeside redevelopment, and a lot of community, actually there's some redevelopment. Even in Orchard, we can see Roma Crescent, we can see some change of the plan. So once we see those redevelopment, can we think about redevelopment somewhere in the future, like the Appleby Eye Center area or Mayway, Appleby? That is the land. I saw it's for sale. If we can have a plan for that, if we have to keep that in mind, and in the future, the city council find a chance. Because if we don't keep that in mind, we will lose the chance. Because all the land is developed, we lose the chance. We have no land. when we still have some land available in this ward, let's just keep that in mind once we get a chance to do it. Thank you.
Ms. Morahan, the south of Ward 5 has Centennial Pool, which also provides that community with space to hold meetings. The Orchard lacks a recreational facility to engage residents. In fact, there are no municipal buildings in our community at all. How would you address this need in our community?
Okay, so I'm going to, again, duplicate what some of my other candidates here have said, and I agree that we need to work collaboratively with both the Halton District School Board and the Halton Catholic School Board, and possibly even private school board here as well. We need to open up the schools after hours. The facilities are here, the gyms are here, why not use them? Another thing too though is a lot of people aren't aware of some of the different programs that are offered in the city. We don't have any ice rinks up here. There is a program called the Neighborhood Ice Rink. You can still apply. It ends November 1st. You have to get your applications in. So you could actually apply to have a neighborhood rink in your own community. So it has to be, if you go on the City of Burlington website, you can see what is needed to do that. And that's something that I know down in my area, there's a group of residents that are teaming together to put an application forward. I see lots of great splash pads in Oakville, but I don't see the same number of splash pads here in Burlington. So it might not be a physical building, but it's another addition to a park. You're lucky up in the Orchard that you have new parks, so you have good playground equipment. Where I reside down in the south, and I take my grandkids, I have 7 of them. When I take my grandkids to the parks, it's kind of slim pickings for the parks that have good equipment. So that's something that I think that we need to make sure that the parks and the equipment for the kids is safe throughout Ward 5 and throughout the city of Burlington in general. I would like to see a free shuttle service to utilize Bateman High School if that high school does end up closing in 2020. And if the city's able to purchase it and use it as a community center, it will be a great community center for the whole ward in its entirety. But yes, up in the Orchard, it is a little bit of a trek. So if we had free shuttle bus services that would enable youth to get down there, seniors to get down there, and people of all ages, I think that that would be beneficial. I also think that we could foster intergenerational programs utilizing Creekway Village long-term care and also the Williamsburg retirement residence. When I was a seniors coordinator for the police, I organized an intergenerational program, and the relationships that were fostered between youth and seniors was incredible, and it built lifelong relationships. I think that our seniors can learn from our youth, and our youth can learn from our seniors. So I think that we can utilize those buildings as well. Those buildings have community rooms in them. I also think that when we redevelop Skyway Arena, and it's going to be redeveloped in 2020, that we should be putting on a second story on that arena. The current city council voted that down. I think we need a second story on that arena so that we can have a walking track. We are the only city in this area that doesn't have really decent arenas. My daughter lives in Beamsville. They have a beautiful arena with a second story. Seniors can walk there in a safe environment. A lot of seniors can't get to the Burlington Mall, so let's put a second story on the Skyway Arena build. Let them have a track where they can walk, where families, youth, everybody can walk and exercise together. Thank you.
We're almost there. Mr. Rukama, all candidates speak of smart, responsible, and sustainable growth and development. What mechanisms, laws, policies, and practices would you employ to ensure that happens, especially with respect to the Lakeside Plaza redevelopment project?
All right. During my campaign, I've spoken about intensification and the need to take a look at it a little bit differently. I've spoken about smart development and 7 principles of that I would like to see before I would vote to have a project approved. Pardon me. This includes Lakeside. For me, Lakeside, which those of you who haven't been there, is at the very bottom of the ward, just by Lakeshore. They are proposing 900 units to be developed there. I think it's too aggressive. I think it's too big. I think it is. I just think that it is a very bad idea for the community, because a a number of factors are going to continue to plague a lot of the issues that we've discussed today. So my principles of smart development will be to allow neighboring residents to have a say in development. I also think it's absolutely critical that we protect the quality of life of residents. We need to provide opportunities for economic development. We need to exceed green building standards. This is really important. We need to start focusing on the realities of climate change, and environmental stewardship and development is something that we should take a look at. I also believe very much in increasing green spaces and public amenities. One way to increase green space, and again, with my absolute hatred for these winters, I don't understand why I need to walk 5 minutes to get into a mall because we have these massive, massive parking lots, when in most parts of the world you park underneath. If you park underneath, you're creating an awful lot of usable space for residents. That's green spaces, that's walking spaces, that's just opportunities for you to enjoy the outdoors. We need to manage traffic and transportation. If you're going to build 900 units at Lakeside, you have to take a look at how transit is going to be affected as well, or what it is that you can do with transit to alleviate the traffic in the area. And you also need to ensure mixed-use development. I believe very much that, first of all, we need commercial and we need residential, but mostly we need to be able to have a mix of condominiums as well as rental units, so that people of various economic realities are able to are able to live in the complexes.
Ms. St. James, all candidates speak of smart, responsible, and sustainable growth and development. What mechanisms, laws, policies, and practices would you employ to ensure that happens, particularly with respect to the Lakeside Plaza redevelopment project?
This is my area of expertise and why I put my name in the hat. And thank you, The Orchard, for knowing about Lakeside Plaza in the south. It needed to be refurbished. We could hardly wait for it to be done. So it's mid-density, just like Georgina Court, just like 12 Mile Road here in 2005 built The Orchard, where you are getting surprise builds as well. I have been on character studies, citywide studies, and I have delegated 11 times for reasonable and respectful builds within the zoning guidelines. In Ward 5, I feel we are the forgotten ward. There is a huge property of land at Midtown, so Mainway all the way up to Upper Middle. It needs to be a mixed middle. We need to start marketing Burlington better, giving incentives to builders, making certain that green spaces are protected, making certain that setbacks, proximity to the street, are reasonable and respectable and not overshadowing. Lakeside Plaza, there were approximately 50 people at the first meeting. I was the only candidate that was there. My response when I saw the very small room and the very small response, that is where I got most of my email list from. I did not join this race with the 4,000. It's an unequal playing field, right? I'm starting from scratch. So most of my team has been from Lakeside Plaza. All of those seniors in 15 buildings from across the street were stunned and shocked to see that they would have no way to get across the street. To go to Food Basics, where there were 27 parking spots, thank you very much, 900 units, which you and I would call homes, where the traffic study was done in one day in February. Yeah. So this is my baby. This is why I think I'm the best counselor for 2014 to 2018. What would I do? I would make certain that zoning and bylaws are respected, that builders understand and know that city council respects them as well. Teamwork, consensus, incentives for builders, because where they're getting the most profitability and optimization is their latest word, is from homes, homes, and more homes. Lakeside Plaza should be at less than 300 units. Thank you.
Mr. Zhang, all candidates speak of smart, responsible, and sustainable
Oh,
growth
yeah.
and development. What mechanisms, laws, policies, and practices would you employ to ensure that happens, particularly with respect to the Lakeside Plaza redevelopment project?
I went to the Lakeside Plaza open house before and checked and take the photos of the city posted the information. I all take the photo in my newsletter. I also include those photos, and you can see those photos from my website. And for this project, actually we need to look at the fact of the intensification and population growth. No matter we like it or not, population growth is a reality in Burlington. And then we need to have more homes to accommodate the new resident. But when we do the development, we need to consider several facts. So first is where to put those houses, where to put those buildings, and how large. How large the building is, it will not affect the quality of life for the existing, the surrounding community. And how about the safety facts? So for those buildings, when I look at the buildings, there are several issues I identified. One, it is too big. And because it's very big, it's used more than half of the parking lot now. Currently, it is Tim Hortons and Food Basic for that area. And I saw the building is very close to the sidewalk. And for high-rise building, actually, this is not safe in winter, especially in winter. There's a wind, it changed the wind pattern, maybe there's a falling glass or falling ice. Because I work in downtown Toronto. This is not something uncommon, so sometimes we can see that a lot in winter. There's an area surrounding the big buildings there's a falling ice warning, so people need to go to another side of the road. And I don't think that's the way we want, and we want to keep it the same community. And another thing I look at, if we have those buildings and the traffic pattern should change. East of the Lakeside Plaza is a Hampton East, and then if we have the buildings, we need to consider where the car can go to the building and where they can leave the parking lot. So one way is better solution. But if we have the one way, all the cars should surround this area, and then it causes a huge traffic flow increase. And then it causes another problem. Actually, we didn't identify that in the traffic study. And the other problem that we need to look at the other side, the south side of the lakeshore. There are three buildings. There are the one white building, there are the one brown one, and another Chadwell retirement home. For those residents living there, and they cannot leave their building if we don't handle the traffic properly. Thank you.
Ms. Monahan, all candidates speak of smart, responsible, and sustainable growth and development. What mechanisms, laws, policies, and practices would you employ to ensure that happens, particularly with respect to the Lakeside Plaza redevelopment project?
Okay, thank you. So I believe that community engagement meetings are imperative, but I don't think that they've been successful in the past. When I've been speaking to people in the community, they've said to me that some of them, yes, have gone to the Lakeside community meetings, but they weren't held maybe at times that were convenient for them. I think we need to look at some other avenues in which to engage the citizens. I think we need to engage the community and hold meetings during times when they can participate. Perhaps we need to look at different ways to hold these meetings, whether it be with Facebook Live feeds or YouTube Live feeds for people that maybe are not able to get out to those meetings. I also feel like at some of these meetings that the City of Burlington staff is there, they're getting paid overtime. They're using a lot of nice glossy, shiny ads, and sometimes I think it's a waste of money. It's a waste of our taxpayers' money. I think that we need to be accountable to our taxpayers in the way that we hold these meetings. I believe that we need to have reasonable growth, but we need to respect the existing communities. We need to protect established neighborhoods, I've been really concerned about some issues that are going up here with Georgina Court and Rome Crescent. But we're speaking right now about Lakeside Plaza. Lakeside Plaza is a plaza that I've known since I was a kid. It used to be called Skyway Plaza. It had an old AMP store in there, and an Eames store, and Fintelman's Bakery, the bowling alley. There was a movie theater. There was a chalet. It was a place where I hung out as a kid. And it was a great plaza back then. But yeah, it has fallen into disrepair. It's gone downhill and it needs to be renovated. It needs to be refurbished. I do believe what's proposed right now is too big. I believe that what we need in there is something half that size. Right now they're proposing 900 units. You figure 900 units is probably 2 people per unit. That's 1,800 people. That's probably 1,800 cars. Lakeshore Road is Highway 2. It's a 2-lane highway. And I know right now I have trouble getting down to the downtown core when I leave my home in the area of Pineland Avenue and Lakeshore. It can take me sometimes 40 minutes to get downtown. I've talked to EMS workers and I've talked to the Burlington Fire Department as well. And also being an officer, I know that with public safety, it's so important. EMS, a girl told me, one of the EMS workers said that sometimes they have to divert the ambulances to Oakville Hospital because they can't get to Burlington Hospital, Joseph Brand Hospital during rush hour traffic. That's not right. We've paid as taxpayers for that hospital, we should be able to use it. I don't think that the traffic study was done properly when they looked at the traffic for Lakeside Plaza, and unfortunately the overflow of the traffic is going to come down Hampton Heath, Kenwood, White Pines, and Bromley. So I really believe that that development needs to be relooked at. We also need to speak with the developers and try to get some community benefits under Section 37 of the Planning Act, get something for our communities when the development does go through. Thank you.
Mr. Sharman, all candidates speak of smart, responsible, and sustainable growth and development. What mechanisms, laws, policies, and practices would you employ to ensure that happens, particularly with respect to the Lakeside Plaza redevelopment project?
Well, thank you for the question. Clearly, Lakeside Plaza is the opportunity to do just that. It is not generally understood, but Lakeside Plaza is not an approved application. We have received an application, period. So with respect to where we're at in the process, in 2015, we had a public meeting. We had 350 people at Robert Bateman High School in the cafeteria. I created the meeting to ask the public to come and provide input to the applicant, the owners. We did that. I'm not sure they listened that well, in fairness to the public. In any event, it happened. In May of this year, we received an application from the owner for Lakeside Plaza. In that application, they asked for a number of buildings, I think 6 or 7 segments, including 2 18-story buildings on the Lakeshore side and 2 14-story buildings on the Lakeshore side. The reason it was on the Lakeshore side, not at the back, was because they were trying to make sure there was a transition to the homes behind them, the single-family homes. Irrespective of all that, allow me to say, the 4 meetings that were held in July and August, 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the evening, were paid for, organized, and all the equipment was provided by the applicant. There were a few hundred people, hundreds of people over the course of those 4 meetings. Many, many comments were made. We had plenty of community engagement. We made notes, the applicant made notes, it was too much density, too many cars, too many units, and too much height. The place is ugly, the designs were ugly, and the traffic will be a problem. I agree with all of that. All of those were noted. The applicant has gone away to make changes to their application. The next meeting that we held will probably be March, and that will be a community meeting. And that will be well covered in the media. There will be letters sent to everybody in the area. And I will personally post on my newsletter, so sign up for my newsletter. And you will all be aware of it. And you'll be welcome. We'll probably do it at Robert Bateman High School. That will be followed by a statutory public meeting, which will probably happen in May or June of next year, followed by a committee meeting, and then followed by a council meeting. During that time, there will be many changes relative to your requests or the requests of the public. I have to tell you, the burning platform in Burlington is the percentage of people over 65, 20%, and that's going to double in the next 20 years and peak in 30 years. We are built out. We can't build in the Niagara Escarpment. We cannot build much in the existing lands of the urban envelope. We have to find housing for seniors. The best housing place is going to be in mixed-use locations such as Lakeside Plaza, where we can have stores on the ground floor, where they can have offices and medical buildings and things like that, and offices over the top of the retail outlet, and then residential on top. We will do the right thing for Skyway. I will promise you that.
Now we come to the closing statements. Ms. St. James, this is your opportunity to present any information about your candidacy and platform that you would like to ensure the voting public knows before they head to the polls. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you for coming out tonight. It's been an honor to meet all of you. I have walked to every single 26,000 voters, and like I said, I walked the talk. The only person that didn't want me to come into this campaign is my husband, who's here this evening. He knew that I would give 120% into campaigning and into representing Ward 5's best interests. My son is here. I want to thank him. He did my website and my first postcard, which you can find out in the lobby. My 16-hour-a-day, Carrie, and my younger sister by choice, has walked and talked with me for the last 4.5 months, forsaking her family as I've forsaken mine. You are my new family. I want to acknowledge Noella and Maureen, Dr. Sonia Doherty, who was everything, Facebook, Instagram, and social media. Really? I wanted to say that I had over 60 volunteers, aged 6 to 76, who assisted in distributing my flyer, 8-fold package, also on the table outside. Several of the endorsements of note within that package, all of which talk about issues and actions. Sebastian Patrizio, somebody I didn't even know, but who is on the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Mississauga and was 4 times campaign manager for Carmen Cabrizio under the Hazel McCallion government, writes about me. I'm modest normally. I can't be, because this is going to be a split vote. Mary Alice's 25 years as a principal has given her the business acumen and skills to balance budgets and create cost-effective planning solutions. Mary Alice is in this race for Ward 5 councillor for the right reasons. Arbor area, 4-year character study, as well as my affiliation with the OMB LPAT Blue Water Avondale success story, where a view to the lakefront was sent back to the drawing board, where 2 houses were said to become 39. Mary Alice initiated community input in both of these areas, attended every single meeting over 5 years, and engaged with all stakeholders respectfully. She delegated 11 times at City Council, ultimately resulting in zoning and bylaw protections for established neighborhoods across Burlington, and particularly at the lakefront. Osub Abbas, Burlington Citizen of the Year. Mary Alice would make an outstanding councillor for Ward 5. She is a skilled and dedicated advocate of others. I know her as a mom, as a principal, and as a community leader. Please check out my endorsements. Please elect St. James. I will not do you wrong, and I do have the experiences that count. Thank you.
Mr. Zhang, this is your opportunity to present any information about your candidacy and platform that you would like to ensure the voting public knows before they head to the polls. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, I think I need to mention 4 things, 4 facts. One is the knowledge, and even I'm not a politician, and I work in the technology field, and for 25 years. I have a master's degree. It's concentration on IT project management. For the project management, we know how to handle the different projects, make things done from the very beginning to the end to deliver the result. Every project actually follow a theory of called constraint triangle. So the triangle has three sides. The 3 sides in the project management, it is timeline, budget, and the scope. So once we need to implement the three features, then in the middle of the triangle is the quality. That means the quality of the project. If we don't maintain the quality, all the project delivery doesn't make sense. In the city management, the quality means the quality of life. We want to make a better Burlington. We want to make Burlington better. We want all our neighbors have better quality of life. That's the goal. And for a person who has the knowledge of project management, so I'm the person to do. And the second I want to say is energy. I don't have a large volunteer team. My volunteer team is small, and most of them, almost every one of them, they have a full-time job. So we all work out in the do the canvassing in the evening and weekend. So now we already knocked more than 9,500 doors. I know there's more than 1,000 probably we missed. So, and the weekend, usually for myself, I do the canvassing 8 hours a day. And this is the energy. So I want to take this chance to listen to our neighbors, get the feedback, your opinions, lots of opinion and suggestions, concerns. I recorded, I took notes, and in the future, if I'm elected, if I can have an open discussion, some improvement is accepted, I will visit these addresses, give you the feedback. And the third I want to say is the positive change. The change, all the elections, we are talking about the change. Change, we can say this is just a change for something like change a face or change a different symbol. We raise hand this way, raise hand that way, but it's not a real change. The real change is we want to see what is the solid solution and who can make the solid solution and what is the new thoughts. The fourth thing is accountability. Accountability, just look at the lawn signs. I knock all doors and ask for permission. I have no single lawn sign in public property. For those four aspects, vote for Xin Yi. Thank you.
Ms. Morahan, this is your opportunity to present any information about your candidacy and platform that you would like to ensure the voting public knows before they head to the polls. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. I have wonderful memories of growing up in Burlington. It's been my home since I was 2 weeks old. I've watched Burlington grow and expand, going from a town to a city in 1974. Burlington will continue to grow, and it's why I believe the growth needs to be reasonable and respectful. I've had 3 main jobs in my life, all of them right here in Burlington. During high school, I worked for Canadian Tire, then I worked for Canada Trust, and then I began my 30-plus year career with the Halton Police. During my career, I've advocated for the rights of children, seniors, people dealing with mental illness, and victims of family violence. I have guided our youth on how to make positive choices. I have assisted families dealing with loved ones diagnosed with dementia and other brain illnesses, and those on the autism spectrum wheel. When I pioneered a pilot program where 10 vulnerable individuals were supplied with GPS tracking devices so their families could feel confident that if they wandered, they would be found. I fostered intergenerational programs linking youth and seniors, enabling lifelong memories to be made. I assisted seniors who were victims of scam artists, and I saved a family from ruin when their father gave away over $100,000 to a lottery scam. I provided training to long-term care home and retirement home staff on elder abuse when the provincial legislation became law. I have been involved in the community at a board level as well. I was part of the Halton Seniors Advisory Council promoting age-friendly communities, chair of the Halton Elder Abuse Committee bringing awareness about elder abuse in our communities. And when Big Brothers approached me to let me know they were having difficulty partnering a little boy who was deaf with a big brother, I stepped up and became his big sister because I knew American Sign Language and I could communicate with him effectively. I was responsible for the Crime Stoppers Elder Abuse campaign. Plus, I started the Center for Seniors program with the Halton Police. And last year alone, we raised over $15,000 for gifts for seniors who might not get a Christmas gift. I say these things not to boast, but to make you aware of who I am and what I've accomplished. I've heard while out door knocking, some people said, well, she's just a cop. I challenge this because I am proud to have been a police officer for so many years and been able to assist so many people in the community during both tragedy and happy times. I'm proud to have mentored many of our youth, proud to have built lasting relationships with seniors, proud to still receive thanks from people I have helped when they were suffering a mental health crisis, and I possibly saved them from committing suicide. And I am proud to know that I have put abusers behind bars who hurt their partners or spouses. My diverse 30-year career as a police officer has provided me the skills to collaborate, listen, and make positive changes in our community. I'm proud to be a lifelong citizen of Burlington, and I'm committed to working hard as your full-time Ward 5 councillor, moving our city forward. I will ensure reasonable, respectful growth, support seniors, youth, and families. I'll promote transportation that makes sense, and I'll work collaboratively with the Halton Police and you, the community, to ensure safe neighborhoods. I have integrity and I care about our community. On October 22nd, make the right choice. Vote Wendy for Ward 5.
Mr. Sharman, this is your opportunity to present any information about your candidacy and platform that you would like to ensure the voting public knows before they head to the polls. Please begin when you're ready.
Well, thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank you, Glenda, and you, Amy, for participating in this event. I wish also to thank you, members of the audience, for being here and giving up your time. And I'd like to thank the candidates here also for making this opportunity for the community to work with them. I have to tell you that the business of being a councillor is quite complex. Between the city and the region, we manage about $1.5 billion of operating budgets. And we have about a $6 billion spend on capital throughout the region, because it's expanding from 500,000 people to 1 million people over the next 20 years. If anybody thought population growth was not happening, it's happening right now. So put that in context when you think about the very demanding nature of this particular role. My background, as you know, is I'm an accountant. I've run businesses, I've reorganized businesses, and there are many aspects of my career that I feel very proud of, and I believe they've all led to being here today, and I can make a contribution. I don't have aspirations. I don't want to be mayor. I don't want anything other than to make a community, a contribution to our community and make it a better place, and continue to do so. I can say that the issues that are not being discussed in this city are well established. We are absolutely know that we are now the slowest growing municipality in the GPHA at less than 1% a year, despite what people are saying. We know that we are built out. We can't build north of Highway 5 and the 407 because it's the Niagara Escarpment and Greenbelt. We know that we are built out in the urban envelope, which is where we all live. At the same time, we have 20% of our population as seniors, and that will double in the next 20 years, and that will not peak for another 30 years. And that causes supply of houses to be much less than demand. A house in Burlington, less than $500,000, is a rare thing to find. Only 1% of the population of Canada can afford $1 million home. Only 5% of the population of Canada can afford a $500,000 home. Where are our children going to live? They all live somewhere else. Then you start to talk about how do you sustain the economics of Burlington if we don't have young people. Young people, 25 to 35-year-olds, they're disappearing as a demographic. They're moving to Stony Creek and elsewhere, which means that jobs will disappear. Jobs pay twice the much price of property taxes as do residential. We have an economic vision that was established in 2015. On the premise of that, we have a 25-year strategic plan, and we have done something unheard of. We have aligned that with an official plan for this city that looks after the community's interests for the long term. You will find on my website all of the initiatives that I believe are an important platform for this city going forward. Vote for me on the 22nd of October, please. Thank you.
Mr. Rukama, this is your opportunity to present any information about your candidacy and platform that you would like to ensure the voting public knows before they head to the polls. Please begin when you're ready.
Allow me to, first of all, acknowledge that running in any election requires a team. And I couldn't have done it without my rock, my wife, Melissa, who every day I think thinks that maybe we shouldn't have done it, maybe we should. We absolutely work so incredibly hard, and I'm so thankful for absolutely everything we've done. This has been a lot of work. I want this so badly that I don't sleep at night, because I see what the city can be. I see where the city can go. And I wake up, and the first thing I do is I ask myself, what is it that I can do for my neighbors? What is it that I can do for the residents? I'm so fiercely loyal to people who live in our neighborhood. I'm so committed to making change. And I've been doing it for 25 years. Paul is right. Municipal leadership is not easy. And it does require the right mix of academic and practical experience. And I fundamentally believe that my background, my education in political science and graduate studies in community economic development, and 25 years working with communities has prepared me for this. You know, people have asked me many times, why are you doing this? The reason why I'm doing this is because I feel that it's my responsibility, it's my duty. My inspiration is and may God rest his soul, is my father. My father literally changed the world. When I was a young child, he decided for 6 months to go abroad and do international development in Africa, and he did it for 40 years, all over the world. And when he died, he had just finished working in Nepal, and the Nepali government gave him a moment of silence. It was the first foreigner who ever got that. And that is because of our family's commitment to helping others. It's in my blood. It's in my soul. And if you really, really want somebody who's going to represent you, get the guy who doesn't sleep. Get the guy who thinks, what is it that I can do for my residents tomorrow? Folks, I have no other aspirations. People have asked me, do you want to be a mayor someday? No. Do you want to be an MP someday? No. Do you want to be an MPP someday? No. I want to be the city councilor for Ward 5, and I want to do absolutely everything that I can, so 4 years from now, you can look back and say, wow, the guy was right. He kept his promises, and his biggest promise was to have our backs. Thank you very much.
I would just like to take a minute to thank all the candidates for coming forward. I know how hard it is to run a campaign, and it is a lot of work and a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And sometimes you don't know the answer, and sometimes you wish you didn't know the answer because it's not going to please them. So I do congratulate you on your candidacy, and I wish you all the best